Hey, Brian Miller here, author, speaker, consultant, coach, and host of the podcast One New Person. And I've been trying something different on the One New Person podcast recently. Those who listen, and thank you for that, know that I typically do long form interviews between 45 minutes and an hour and a half long with the very best of humanity. Leaders, influential people, highly successful people who have not just been successful, but have gotten there by developing relationships. And the whole idea of the One New Person podcast is we explore chance encounters to remind ourselves that every interaction is meaningful and every person we meet is important. But I also know that not everybody has time to listen to a 45-minute, hour-long, or 90-minute long-form interview on a regular basis. And so since I do every other Monday for the interviews, I'm trying out something new, which are on the opposite Thursday. So on the alternate week of the interviews, on Thursday, to go with hashtag Thursday Thoughts across social media, I'll be telling a short form story, 3, 4, 5 minutes long. It's basically an audio version of my blog, where I'm going back through years of blog posts, finding the ones that lend themselves most to the spoken word, to the audio experience, and telling the story hopefully with a point or something you find interesting or useful or entertaining. So this week's episode is called Santa Flies Economy, and here's the audio straight from the podcast. Please enjoy. It was a long flight, but much worse for the man sitting across the aisle. He was a single dad with 2 young kids, maybe 4 and 6, on a nearly 6-hour red-eye flight from Utah back to the East Coast, doing his absolute best to keep them calm and entertained. But there's only so much you can do. I'm a 31-year-old professional traveler, and I'm barely holding it together. You have to feel for these kids and their dad. Unbeknownst to him, sitting 2 rows behind them, but just in front of me, was a peculiar-looking person. An older gentleman, late 60s perhaps, tall with a generous belly, wearing beat-up black sneakers, red sweatpants, a red button-down short-sleeve shirt, and sporting a giant, scraggly, pure white beard. I'm a fully grown adult, and even I couldn't help but think, that's Santa! Why would he do that to himself? Surely he must know he has a passing resemblance to Father Christmas. Why make it worse wearing all red with black sneakers? Anyway, a few hours later, we touched down in Atlanta. As I exited the jet bridge, I noticed Santa. Am I really calling him that? He had already gotten off the plane, but had moved to the side to adjust his luggage before traveling through the airport. I pulled over to do the same. Just then, the father and children came out. The dad was literally red-eyed, carrying all of their luggage and herding the kids, desperately trying to keep them moving and in a straight line. The kids were clearly past their limit, flopping their bodies around out of boredom and exhaustion. But then they saw him. Simultaneously, their jaws dropped like a cartoon as they stared upwards at the looming figure in red with the giant white beard. Their father's eyes went wide as if silently pleading, please, please don't bother this poor man. I'll never forget what happened next. Santa noticed the kids noticing him and, without a moment's hesitation, adopted a giant ear-to-ear grin, smacked his belly, and bellowed, "Ho, ho, ho!" The kids lit up with the kind of joy usually reserved for their first experience at Disney's The Magic Kingdom. As they walked away, the father turned his head back just long enough to mouth, "Thank you," to Santa. And I smiled the entire flight home at 5 a.m. It doesn't take much to make the world a better place. I I really hope you enjoyed that. This is a little experimental. If you did, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments that you enjoyed it. And if you are not subscribed to the podcast, head to onenewperson.com and subscribe for free always via your favorite streaming service, which could be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever you guys use. And you'll get these incredible long-form interviews with just really exceptional people, getting way past. The reason I do long form is I love to get past the talking points. When you do a 10-minute show, a 20-minute show, most of the guests typically stick to the same talking points they hit when they do, traditional media, mainstream media. They just hit their standard couple of things. And I like to find that after the first 20, 25, 30 minutes of a conversation, my guests finally get tired of their talking points and they start having a real conversation. And then we get into the nitty gritty. We get into the background, the weeds, the roots, the stuff that really matters, that actually helps us out. We talk about human connection and the role of luck in success and all the winding and crazy ways that people have developed these incredible careers for themselves. I've had legends like Seth Godin and Shama Hyder. I've had a legend of book editing, Peter Gazzardi. I've got management consultant Christy Lindor. I've got, coming up soon, the CEO of Two Maids and a Mop, one of the most successful franchisees in the world. We've got Tim David, a leadership expert, the author, best-selling author of the book Magic Words. Last season, I had Zoe Chance from Yale University. She's an expert in influence and persuasion techniques, teaches in Yale's MBA program and their School of Management. And I mean, Zoe is speaking later this year on stage all over the world alongside Simon Sinek, Ariana Huffington, and folks like that at the World Business Forum, which is just incredible. So I've had these incredibly exceptional guests. I think you would really enjoy the podcast. Definitely go check it out, onenewperson.com. I'm really proud of the work we're doing over there. I know it's a totally different thing than the quick little hyper-edited videos here on YouTube, but I look forward to seeing you, to engaging with you in all the different mediums. And as always, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at bmillermagic. And I'm most active these days on LinkedIn, if I'm being honest. So you can also just go linkedin.com/in/bmillermagic, or just hit up the description to this video for all the links to the socials, the podcast, the blog, and everything else you could possibly want. Anyway, my name is Brian Miller. Thanks so much for sticking with me. And always remember that our world is a shared experience. So be well and be kind. I'll see you next time.